Welcome back to another episode of Bleav in TCU. I'm Zion Trammell here with my co-host Seth Dowdle, and in today's episode, we will be previewing TCU's matchup with Kansas State. We do have a special guest with us here today. He's the host of Bleav in Kansas State with. We're excited to have George Gerbracht joining us today. George, happy to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. Very excited to be a guest here today. Obviously, rooting for the other team here on Saturday, but it should be a great game. I Bleav the point spread is still set around like 1.5 in your guys' favor. It is at Kansas State. Obviously, that's going to help us. And season hasn't gotten off to the way that we wanted, but hopefully we show some fight. And again, it should be a great game. I'm looking forward to diving into it with you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it should be.
Go ahead.
It should. And we're excited to have you, George. Wanted to ask you a little bit about Kansas State's season because it's been up and down for sure. So, what have kind of been your evaluation of State football this season?
It's certainly been disappointing, very disappointing. Just compared to what we were expecting in the offseason. We were tied in a 4-way tie, I Bleav, with Arizona State, Texas Tech. I'm forgetting the other one, in Kansas State to win the league, to win the Big 12 at around 6-1, 5-1 preseason. And we went over to Ireland. We lost that brutal game to Iowa State. It was messy with the rain and everything. Ended up losing that game by 3 points. And then you go to North Dakota. Obviously, they had to hold on and barely win. Avery Johnson had to have a big drive at the end of the game to win that game. And they barely won that game 38-35. And then you figure, okay, hiccup, we'll get right here. We got Army, who just lost to Tarleton State in week 1, FCS opponent. Sure enough, they're in the same situation, down 3 points, only this time Avery Johnson can't get the ball in the end zone on the final drive, so they lost that game to Army, and that was just a crusher because at that point you're just thinking, well, if we can't beat Army, who can we beat? You go to Arizona in Tucson. That game, funny enough, wasn't a conference game because that game was scheduled before all the conference realignment happened, and they were down 17-3. They came all the way back in the second half, got it to 17-17. Arizona kicked a couple of field goals, 23-17, and then Avery Johnson and the offense couldn't put the ball in the end zone, got stopped on downs. Got a big win over UCF, looked like we should have, and then obviously last week at Baylor and Waco, we almost pulled off the big upset as 6.5-point favorites and blew a 14-point lead there at the end of the game and got the game-winning field goal or potential game-winning field goal blocked. So it has not been a good season thus far. Hoping to win the Big 12. Looks like that's out the door. So you just got to finish strong here. You can't give up. And I'm hoping that they show some fight, which I Bleav they will on Saturday.
Yeah, and if we'll talk about it in a second, but if TCU's track record in Manhattan is to be believed, then yeah, it'll be a dogfight for sure. But this is a vibes pod, George, like a big vibes pod.
I can already tell. I love
it. We feast off of the vibes. And I just want to get a vibes check on post Johnson family fight in Ireland, Kansas State. How much of an effect did that have on the how this season is going?
Obviously that wasn't a great look. I know obviously Avery can't control what his dad and brother are doing outside the stadium in Dublin. But I'm sure he wasn't happy with that whole scuffle. Obviously his father and his brother, they weren't happy with how the game went, losing. And I saw them like on the ground fighting and they had to be separated. So you lose the game and then you have that thrown into the fire, and it kind of creates a cloud, and it's something that the players and the coaches don't want to be talking about, but then the media is going to be asking about it because it's like, why are the dad and his brother, why are they fighting outside the stadium after the game? Very odd situation. So that certainly hasn't helped this year.
Yeah, and you also have to come all the way, but you have to fly like 6,000 miles, which is why Zion and I are scared to death about TCU heading over to Dublin to play UNC next year.
That's right. Well, if Bill's still there, you guys should be good, but
rooting for that. Rooting for him to be
desperately need a TCU win because we can't have what's been going on after a Dublin loss with previous. There's been many examples of teams that have just gone downhill after that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been, I mean, obviously we are not having a great year. Last year, Florida State, they went in number 10 in the country, lost on the last second field goal to Georgia Tech, and they just completely crashed and burned at 2-10. I know Nebraska out there a couple years ago against Northwestern, they had a lousy season after losing. So if you lose that game, it really is kind of a sentiment on how the season is going to go, and it's going to go poorly. So that's how it's gone for us so far this year too, which is unfortunate. And I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's the bad luck or something. Because usually in Ireland, you're seeing good luck, but you lose and you get bad luck, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd gander a guess though. Like, and I don't know what the vibe in the room is for K-State fans and maybe folks that root for this team. But last 2 weeks have definitely been better football, at least for the most part, than the entirety of the season. I know the game in Baylor didn't go the way y'all wanted it to with the loss, but he played decent football for a good chunk of that game, but just came out on the wrong side of things.
Exactly. Yeah, they played good. I thought that was Avery Johnson's best game that he's had all season long. He threw the ball really well. He made plays with his legs. I believe he averaged just over 10 yards a carry, whether it was scrambling or on design runs. So I've been saying it over and over. I've been preaching that he's got to keep doing that with his legs, because when he's a runner, I think that's when he's best. And I'm hoping that he can improve, even though it was a loss. I did think that was his best game last weekend against Baylor, because he hasn't really shown up this year with the arm and taken that step like me and a lot of other people thought he would. Last week, I thought he looked a lot better with the arm. He just had that costly turnover, but I'm hoping that he can build on that, and we'll see if he can against this TCU defense.
Yeah, it's been a defense. Oh, sorry, Seth. Yeah, it's been a defense that struggled against quarterbacks that can scramble and use their legs. We've seen it several times throughout the year. So, and in years past. So I think that could certainly be something that could play as a advantage for Kansas State. And then, of course, Seth alluded to it earlier. I think there was a little bit of audio issue, but I think we're caught up now. So TCU has struggled in Manhattan. It has been egregious over the last several years. And I think that gives a lot of us TCU fans a little bit of worry, even though Kansas State has not played at the level that they're expected to. They put in a good effort against Baylor. At some point, people think maybe they could figure this out. And, you hope it's not against TCU, but you just never know.
Yeah. I think that if they can build, and even though they did lose the game, like I said, if they can build and take the good things from that game, they scored 34 points. The offense looked a lot better than it has been. Dylan Edwards was back last week. Not as big of a game as he had, but having him back in the lineup has been huge for us as well. So just building off, even though it was a loss, if the offense can do what he's been doing, I think we're going to be in good shape come Saturday. And again, I think this is going to be a game that's going to have a lot of points. I know TCU likes to sling it. Josh Hoover likes to sling it, and I think that they're going to see a lot of points here on Saturday.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of parallels to how Sawyer Robertson likes to play and how Josh Hoover likes to play. So, if you want to take anything from how Baylor was able to operate offensively, there's maybe some parallels there, because both those offenses like to throw it down the field and like to test those backs. I wanted to talk about Dylan Edwards a little bit, because obviously he got hurt in that game against Iowa State, and then came back last week. Only had 10 carries for 26 yards and a touchdown. Speaking of things that TCU fans have PTSD with, one, it's playing against Kansas State over the past 7 or 8 years or whatever. Two, Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards, when he was at Colorado in that game against TCU in 2023, he caught the ball 5 times and had 3 receiving touchdowns for 126 yards. It was just a terrible time. How big of a difference does his availability make for the K-State offense in this game, you think?
It's huge, and I think he's going to play. I know with college injury reports, it's always a little up in the air. It's not like the NFL where exactly, okay, this guy's got this injury and he's this designation. I think he's listed as questionable right now because he did get a little banged up last Saturday. So we'll see if he does play. but obviously he got hurt on the first time he touched the ball this season on the muff punt against Iowa State in Ireland with the rain. And then he came back last week. Obviously wasn't his best game, but in that game against UCF, you saw what a difference he can make for the offense, because it really just adds another level to the offense. Joe Jackson, he's been fine. The running game, it's been okay, but in that game, he had 20 carries for 166 yards and a touchdown. He had 3 touchdowns in that game in the Rate Bowl against Rutgers. You just mentioned the game that he had at Colorado against TCU a few years ago. So he is a difference maker when he's fully healthy. They can lean on him to run the ball and make big plays on the offense. So his availability, I think, is going to be huge this weekend. I think he should be able to give it a go. Just whether or not he's 100% healthy, I don't think that'll be the case, which is probably, it's unfortunate, but that's just how it is in football. Injuries happen, and, yeah.
For sure. I also wanted to talk about TCU's biggest vice, which is running the football. And I know I've seen some K-State fans online this past week kind of gripe about the run defense for the Wildcats. It's opponents putting up 180 yards a game on K-State's rushing attack or rushing defense. TCU, though, I don't know if you don't need to be worried about it. It's not going to look good. It doesn't matter who TCU's running the ball against. But I think that's kind of the key for me in this game is how what the rubber's got to meet the road. Someone's got to be able to stop it, or someone's got to be able to run it. How do you think that plays out in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I know TCU, they like to move the ball through the air. Hoover, I think he's 6th in the country right now in terms of passing yards per game, just over 300 a game. And yeah, I think whoever can run the ball and dictate how this game is going to be played, because I think TCU is going to want to play with tempo here. I don't know if you guys agree with me there or not, but I do think they're going to play with tempo. And on the other hand, I know K-State, they can get into a shootout. They can get into that type of game. But I think that in that type of game, TCU is going to wind up pulling ahead because they can do that all game long. I think that Kansas State is going to want to establish the run here and try and run the ball. Obviously, both teams are going to try and establish the run here, but I think it's even more important for Kansas State just to kind of dictate how the tempo goes in this game. I think they're going to want to try and slow it down, keep Hoover off the field, keep control of the clock and the ball. So I think if Kansas State can do that, they're going to be set up for success. If they can't, I think TCU is just going to be able to sling it. They're going to score a bunch of points, and they're probably going to win.
It's if TCU wants to win this game, they want to make Avery Johnson throw it 40-45 times.
Mm-hmm.
Just like
completely
Baylor.
agree with you there.
If K-State does not, I'm assuming that's not what they want to happen. They don't want Avery Johnson dropping back 50 times.
Absolutely not. Yeah. I think they want him to run the ball, make plays with his legs. They want him obviously to find Brown. They want him to find Tibbs. They want him to find Oakley in the passing game, but at the end of the day, I think they're going to want to run the ball. If Edwards is good to go, obviously with him first, and then Joe Jackson, and then with Avery Johnson being the third guy, either scrambling or on design plays. So I think they're going to try and establish the run early and keep that going throughout the game if it's working. And if they can get that working and score points that way, it'll be good. But again, if they can't and you get into a shootout, that's good for you guys.
Yeah, and it felt like early against Baylor, those kind of rushing lanes for Avery were there, but I think they kind of got clogged up later in the game. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'm just watching it back. There was a couple times where he was just able to run right to the A gap, and just that first touchdown especially was like just a wide open Red Sea hole, and then that wasn't there later for him. I think you're right. Like if K-State's able to establish the ground game, slow it down. TCU struggles in games where each possession matters even more. Against Arizona State, when that game kind of got bogged down, it was a real slogfest, and you could tell that they were very uncomfortable. They thrive whenever things are moving fast and easy. So yeah, I think you're right about that.
Yep, I think you're right. He was able to run the ball early, and that kind of stopped. Give credit to Dave Aranda and Baylor. They made some adjustments there on defense. And once he wasn't able to do that, then you kind of saw the comeback. And again, the pick six was just a backbreaker late in that game. But yeah, if TCU is able to stop the run here, they're going to have a lot of success just getting off the field and getting the ball into the hands of that explosive quarterback and Hoover. And I know they've got 3 receivers who have over 300 yards, so a lot of weapons. Obviously, Hoover can get the ball to. And I also have to say, one of my favorite players in the country, just based on name alone, is Joseph Manjack IV. That is a fantastic name.
And he plays like his name. He
Mm-hmm.
gloveless, no equipment except for his pads and his helmet, and he goes out there and just we were talking about this in the Colorado recap, Zion and I. He has a game where he'll like drag a defender by his shoelace for like an extra 5 yards. It happens once a game. Like
Love it.
No doubt about it. He's definitely a vibe. We were questioning his lack of gloves. We were like, this is not, I don't like this, but he's definitely proved us wrong. Who's that player on K-State that like kind of is an X factor for you? Than who we've talked about already.
Yeah, I think in this one, obviously Jace Brown is has been phenomenal. He's been the number 1 receiver for Avery Johnson this year. But I think one guy that they're going to, if he's covered up and he's not able to make plays, which I think he will be, but you're going to have to find multiple guys to throw the ball to here to keep up with TCU. So I think that Jerron Tibbs is going to have a big game here as well. He's been great coming over, transferring from Purdue last season, and he's made a lot of plays this season for Kansas State. He's having a big year. So him, and then also Garrett Oakley, he's been great as a safety blanket at tight end. He's a big threat in the red zone. So being able to spread the ball in this game and not just focusing on Jace Brown, but being able to spread the ball, spread the wealth, I think those 2 guys are going to be huge factors here on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different guys caught a pass against Baylor. I think that's a recipe for success for sure. You mentioned Garrett Oakley. He made a heck of a catch on like a go route. I think like in the 3rd or 4th quarter of that game against Baylor. Really, he impressed me a couple of times. 7 catches for 54 yards too, which is kind of nuts.
He's all reliable for Avery Johnson. He's kind of a safety blanket there when he needs it, and he can also make explosive plays too. So he's been fantastic for us.
Yeah, every team loves it whenever they have that tight end. Like I remember watching Penn State last year. It was like, just give it to Tyler Warren when in doubt, and Garrett Oakley can be that guy for Kansas State. Any other like keys to this game for you? I mean, you've mentioned a couple times that you see this going TCU's way. We've obviously talked about how this could go K-State's way, if they're able to slow it down. But is there any other kind of key points, moments, maybe some storylines about Chris Kleiman's job? Let's talk about that. I actually wanted to ask you about this. What's the vibe around Kleiman and right now?
I think obviously people aren't happy. I know Reggie, who I co-host the pod, Bleav in Kansas State, obviously with. He's not happy, and he's a former player, and he knows a lot of former players and a lot of boosters and a lot of alum who are not happy. And Kleiman, since he's gotten there, he's done a good job. He's taken Bill Snyder's success and been able to run with it. This has obviously not been his best year. It's been his worst year, as a matter of fact. So they're not happy, but I do think his job is safe. I don't see him being fired, even if they don't win another game, which I find it hard to believe because they do still have Oklahoma State on the schedule. So that should be at least one more win. But yeah, it's vibes aren't good. But again, I don't think his seat is too hot yet. If they continue to go down this path, I don't see him being fired, but I do see him entering next season on the hot seat and needing to prove something. But right now, I think his job is fairly safe, even though the season hasn't gotten off to the way we would have liked.
Yeah, and just I know like I've been in the same seat before, like when your team isn't playing well and you come try to be Mr. Silver Lining. They've lost 4 games by combined 14 points or whatever?
Points. Yeah, 13 I believe is the total. So it's just been heartbreaker after heartbreaker.
And sure, like one of those losses is to Army, and that's not a great look. But I mean, it's a trip. You could go like this. You got triple option to death. It happens sometimes. I guess
it happens. Yeah.
The Arizona one, hard to excuse in my opinion.
Yeah.
North Dakota game against North Dakota. That's tough.
Yeah, and for me, I'm a big proponent of FCS games shouldn't even count unless you lose the game. So technically, I think we should be 1-4 because playing an opponent like that is, it shouldn't count, but it does, and they almost lost the game. So just, well, not a great start, and I'm hoping they can turn it around. But again, it just hasn't gone the way we would have hoped so far.
Yeah, and I guess my point is with Kleiman and all that kind of noise that I've heard, because there's a certain coordinator at Texas A&M that's doing some good stuff right now that I've maybe some people that want to get Kleiman out would like to see him back in Manhattan, but they're playing better football and like right now. And I still think there's really good players on this team, and they could definitely get TCU. We'll get the score predictions right now, actually, if Zion's internet is back to earth. But we'll hear from him. But who do you think wins this game? What's the score, and what's the big reason why that team won the game?
Well, my keys to the game here, I've got a couple. I think that for Kansas State being able to quiet them on the ground, even though I know they haven't been the best running team in the country so far this year, being able to get Hoover into 3rd and long situations is going to be huge. And Avery Johnson, if he can capitalize, even though, again, it wasn't a loss, can duplicate what he did last weekend minus the turnover, and just be able to throw the ball around. And if they do have to play in a shootout, be able to do that. But I predicted this on Tuesday night when we recorded our show, and I've still got the same prediction. I think it's going to be another very high-scoring game, but at the end of the day, I just think Josh Hoover is going to outduel Avery Johnson on the road, and I've got the Frogs winning 38-31 here, and what should be a very good game on primetime Fox Saturday afternoon.
Absolutely. I think you're right. If TCU's struggled on 1st and 2nd down, but they've been like they've pulled out rabbits out of their hat consistently on like 3rd and 9 and plus. It feels like forever, and that's a credit to Josh Hoover being, I think, a really good quarterback. I think if K-State's able to get him in 3rd and longs, they could catch them here and come up and bite them. I got TCU as well. I agree with you. I'm going to give TCU the benefit of the doubt because I can't really give K-State the benefit of the doubt given how everything's gone so far. But I do want to recognize the streak of games that TCU has played against this team and how it's gone poorly, whether it be in Manhattan or, I'm thinking about the Big 12 championship game in 22. I'm going to give TCU 30-27. And
okay.
I don't know if Zion can hear us. If he can give his score prediction, but I think he's going TCU 28-24. So we're 3 for 3 across the board, which is not good.
Clean sweep. Yeah, whenever you see on a game day, you've got everybody picking one team as the big favorite, even though TCU is not a big favorite here. Maybe that bodes
1.5 points or whatever.
Yeah, I believe it's still 1.5. Maybe that'll bode well for the Cats on Saturday, but you never know. And with how we've been playing most of the season, I doubt it will. But you never know.
You never know. And listen, I think it'll be a good game. I think K-State has a lot of talented players, and if they come out and they're ready to play, it should be a good football game. Well, George, thank you so much for joining us here. Where can people find you and your show?
So we are obviously same name, just the K-State instead of TCU. So Bleav in K-State. That is where our podcast is on anywhere you can find podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, everything like that. On Twitter, I'm at GG Gabra. On TikTok, I've just started posting on there recently, just general college football stuff, but I'm at GGG Sports. But yeah, you can find me there. And then I guess my blog too, gggsportsblog.com. So that's where I'm posting everything and doing all my stuff. So yeah, again, awesome. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a blast.
Of course. Yeah. We love hearing from the other side. You know more about Kansas State than we do. So that it's great to hear a little bit about the Wildcats and what's going to happen in this game between TCU and Kansas State. Well, that'll do it here for the show. I want to thank you all for listening to today's episode of Bleav in TCU. Make sure to follow us on all social channels at Bleav in TCU. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube page at Bleav in TCU as well. So for Zion Trammell, and our wonderful guest, George from Bleav in Kansas State. I'm Seth Dowdle, and as always, go Frogs.